Thank all my guys, everybody back at the shop.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Back at the Shop. Co-host Sam Whitman, Davey Weaver, and PJ Farmer has got the bubonic plague, so we have upgraded into that department. Bowman Gray Sportsman Champion Chase Robertson, RCR Fabricator and Xfinity Mechanic or whatever he does, Tucker Myers. Guys, how y'all doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Another day on this side of the dirt.
There you go. That's always good to be upright and ventilating. So, you've had a pretty eventful weekend winning the championship. Before we get into anything else, what was that like?
It was a great night. I really can't explain it because it's just it was an unreal moment. I've never had something like that. But you know, it's we're gonna look forward to next year and see if we can go back to back.
I don't see any reason you can't. So
sure.
For all you Bowman Gray fans, you know Chase Robertson, but you may not know that Tucker is on the crew of Robertson Racing. Tucker, what was that like to watch your boy win a championship?
Man, we've been waiting on it for a while, and really, it just leaves you speechless. Coming from all the adversity, I told Chase earlier today, it was like a roller coaster, and we just started the ride. We were coming up the last hill and about to go back down. And we kept getting tests thrown at us. Earlier in the morning, it was real tough, and Chase was like, guys, we got it. Just stay cool. So really, Chase made us pull through.
It's a leadership quality right there.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's leadership. Man, well, congratulations. That's awesome, and I know you come from a racing family, and that's really cool to see it.
For sure.
Youngest champion at Bowman Gray ever, supposedly.
Supposedly.
So I'm sure there's a lot more to come, depending on how long you decide to race there.
Yeah, I don't know what my plans are next year. Right now, we plan on racing there again. We're going to Martinsville in a month. We got a month to get ready for that, September 23rd. Racing for Dylan Ward. He has 2 late models, and he's letting me and my guys go up there with him to try it out. All I want to do is just make the race. If I make the race, that's a win to me.
That's fair. That's a big race, and I know it's. I mean, they get 70 to 100 cars every
90,
year. They get
80.
It's ridiculous.
So just to make the race you're
big.
better than half the guys
Right.
there. Yeah. Well, we'll save the interview for a little bit later, but there are some things we need to attend to. Just normal back at the shop stuff. Tucker, you're part of the Xfinity Series team over at RCR. So Austin Hill's coming back?
That's the word around the shop.
That's what they say?
Kind of pumped up about it, really.
I thought he was coming over there with us.
I'm glad he's not.
Well, yeah, I bet you are. He's a hell of a driver, and I'm sure he would have won a lot of cup races, and I guess that's our loss.
Yeah.
Man, that's good for RCR.
Yeah,
guess.
it is.
Sucks for us.
Yeah, but I guess, it kind of alluded to him taking over the 3 car at some point. So, I mean, that's a good thing to work towards. I mean, somebody tells you that, it's like, that's a lot of motivation to stay in a place.
It's a lot of pressure, too.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean.
Yeah, I've heard rumblings of
be.
Austin taking over management for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know how long he's going to continue to drive, but how old's Austin Hill?
25, 26, somewhere in there, yeah.
He ain't that old, but he ain't that young.
Yeah,
You think Joey Logano started racing Cup Series when he was his age?
Right.
Yeah, he's old for an Xfinity guy just coming up through, only being his second year.
Right.
But
I heard that he didn't want to go just because he didn't like the Cup cars.
I don't blame him.
He just said they're not fun to drive. He has more fun than an Xfinity car.
That's fair, but how long are the Xfinity cars going to be?
Fun.
The
Yeah.
Xfinity cars.
I don't know.
So I spent most of last year working on the Cup cars, and working on them's not fun. It's all a pain. You're always waiting on parts just because everything comes from one person, and there's always a backlog, and you're always working your ass off just to do anything.
Right.
And it feels like you're always behind. And I can't imagine adjusting to the driving style that you have to. The lower profile tires, the wider tires. I mean, we as fans complain about them a lot. I can't imagine what the drivers go through.
Well, I mean, you saw, Barry's a hell of a wheelman, and he's doing good in Xfinity, and he hops in the Legacy car, and he didn't really do too hot.
How much of that's legacy?
Well, you're right about that.
Well, look at Eric Jones.
That too.
Yeah,
That
he
too.
won Darlington last year.
Yeah. So their
And
their
they're
cars
struggling.
aren't the same caliber they were last year, but
I think
you
a
know
lot of
he
that's-
can still get in there and run top 10, run top 15. So it's like it's kind of like you think, but not every team's like our team. And I know RCR, you guys, they bring their cars pretty similar to similarly set up. Everybody doesn't do that. Some teams are like, you've got one crew chief's like, this was what I'm doing. I don't care what the other guys are doing. And then your other crew chief is like, okay, well, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So maybe, that may be what it is, or
Yeah. And
maybe the driver in that car just isn't what everybody thought he was.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Probably not next year, being its first year with Toyota, but 2-3 years down
Yeah.
the line, if they're up there contending with 2311.
Right.
They're right there on the brink of a playoff berth with Bubba.
Yeah.
If-
Locked in with
I'd say if
45.
they're at that point in 2 or 3 years, the transition was a success.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, it's hard to gauge something like that because we don't know how much help they're getting. We don't know how much help 2311 got. Obviously their first year it was rain shortened, but their first year they won a race. So I mean, even still, just being able to put yourself in that position is still impressive.
The question
So-
I would have is, where does legacy stuff come from right now? Are they getting RCR stuff or Hendrick stuff? They're not getting any Chevrolet support at all.
Well, it's all
that's
NASCAR
obvious.
stuff.
So ECR,
Yeah,
it's ECR motor. Well, yeah, ECR.
The question
motors.
is, who's building their
technically
stuff and putting it
ECR
all together? Are they doing it themselves right now, or are they relying on themselves to put them together in that very specific way? I mean,
I think they have a body hanging shop and a
Probably.
Hawkeye. I know
But-
they have a Hawkeye.
Yeah.
but like next year, and if I understand it correctly, the 2311 cars come from Joe Gibbs Racing nearly put together and ready to
Right.
roll. And they just do the final bits and pieces. So is that going to be the same for Legacy?
Right.
When they go Toyota, does Joe Gibbs Racing expand to meet that, build criteria? Because there's a lot of details in the way they're built. Even a next gen car that makes them faster than the other next gen cars.
I really, I guess it's kind of like what we did for you guys. Like,
Right.
we assemble all your car, and then y'all basically finish it up,
Right.
We take
set up, everything like that.
Yeah.
a shell and turn it into a race car.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Bolt parts onto it.
So-
Get it ready.
Obviously, I think Tucker would know the most about body hanging, but
Yeah.
I don't know what would go into the relationship with Legacy and Gibbs or whoever if they would do all that themselves. Like, I know Legacy, I think they used to come use RCR's Hawkeye,
Yeah, they did last year. They
and then
did.
they got their own, which tells me if they're not having RCR hang bodies, they're probably doing it themselves and then
Right.
making sure everything's square.
And without a Chevrolet, without Chevrolet support, they don't know what the other Chevrolets are doing this year to get a little extra speed. There's no, and that's the toughest part. I think if you're building your own bodies or if you're building somebody else's, I mean, if Chevrolet is not working with the other teams to share their information and to have this collaborative effort, if you're outside, they're lame duck as hell.
Right.
Yeah.
And next year, Toyota's always been about, their engine program, it's all one program. The most of it's always come out of Joe Gibbs as far as, let's build it this way because we know it's fast over here and let all the Toyotas benefit from it. And
Right.
it helps them as a whole.
Right.
Well, speaking of Toyota and Chevrolet, the Xfinity race from this past weekend, most of it was a typical stage breakless Watkins Glen, but there at the end, the Ty Gibbs versus Sam Mayer
Yeah.
storyline, and I guess Austin Hill got in there a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
really know
Pot
what
calling the
happened.
kettle black. All
There
of
was
them.
a whole lot of fire between those three really, but mainly Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer.
Yeah.
What do you think of Gibbs' comments? He's got more starts than I've got more wins.
Really, I think he's trying his hardest not to be a complete asshole.
That's fair.
I think his grandpa went to his window after the race. You seen that? And I think he said, "You need to keep it classy here.
Yeah.
Let's be real."
Sure.
And
I feel like that's the way his whole career's been, though. He's
a lot has been given to him.
when
Yeah.
all is going well, it's I don't deserve this.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. He gets us all that.
Right.
Stuff that the religious stuff, and then the next second when something goes bad, he's dumping teammates, he's fighting, he's talking, all this smack against Sam Mayer. It's like, I don't care. I think it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But there's fans that are going to run with, what would Jesus do?
Right.
And I think that's the box he paints himself into, and I have no problem with it. But
No, I like
there's
it.
a lot of people out there like, well,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's
what
got
about Jesus?
I think he's got a crappy attitude sometimes, but at the same time, it's like, obviously, you two guys, you've been in the car a lot, and you've been in the car some too, well, hell, Davey, you've even been in a car this year. It's different when everybody, it's easy to sit at home on your couch and say, man, he should have reacted this way or he should have done that. But until you're in the moment and you're in that car and that happens to you, you've dominated the entire race. And then somebody drives into turn one. Am I saying Ty wouldn't do the exact same thing? Not at all, because he would. He has done that. He's done it to his teammates before.
Absolutely.
But in the same aspect, I can understand being a little pissed off. I get it.
That's why we have.
Saying stuff that you may not necessarily mean.
That's why
or-
Radioactive is one of the hottest
Oh yeah, they love hearing
segments
pissed off
that
drivers.
NASCAR Race Hub does, because drivers speak freely when they're hitting that button, and then they don't think about what's going to be recorded, and
Yeah.
like, you got to be careful what you're saying, because this jackass is always recorded.
Yeah, I mean, me and Dad talk a lot about the race and what to do, and in that moment, you don't know who, or you don't think of, who's scanning. Not that it really matters, but not that it really matters. You could just, it's just strategy sometimes, when we talk over the radio. But the Ty Gibbs thing, it's a tough, it's hard to bite your tongue when that happens, when you lead most of the race and you get dumped on the last lap. It's just a hard pill to swallow. But I think Ty did a good job of, in the interview, of staying classy. That comment that he made, I don't really see a problem with it, to be honest. I'm a little biased. I like Ty Gibbs, so I think he's a really good driver. Sometimes, yes, he does do stuff, but all in all, I don't think you can take away what he's done.
Why do you like Ty Gibbs?
I just think he's a wheelman.
And he is.
Yeah, he is. I mean, is his car better than everybody else's? Some weeks, yeah, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily take away his driving ability. You can take certain drivers and put in that 19 car, as we've seen. They've put drivers in it this year, and they haven't run as well as he is. Because even with an amazing car that's put together and it's fast, it's fast, it's not always going to directly correlate to that driver being fast.
What I think he has, as such a wheelman, as you say, and having a little bit of attitude and already having the big established team behind him with the name on his back, he has a very good opportunity to become a superstar.
Oh, yeah.
But he has to pick his battles and choose his words carefully, because a lot of, people like the attitude. I think Kyle Busch grew up on that. Certainly Dale Earnhardt grew up on that when he was in his prime back in the day. But I think you tread one side of the fence or the other, and you don't want to alienate people who think you're just a douchebag either. That's the hard part. He needs to, I guess, he needs to figure out how to make people identify with him as he's being a wheelman with an attitude.
Yeah.
It's hard. In my opinion, it's hard for him to do that, because so many people don't like him already because they say he's spoon-fed. So he's really in a tough spot. He really can't say anything, or if he does anything, people are just going to hate on him regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the same issue that the Dillons had when
I
they were coming up.
agree.
You had that Harvick in the truck, sledgehammer through, all that silver spoon BS.
But as much as I also liked Austin and Ty and have known them for all of those years and covered them from when they were racing modifieds, they never really did. They haven't performed to that level, and I know they won some Xfinity or Nationwide, whatever it was at that point, championships. Right. But I mean, Ty, there's something about his natural ability that's just that next little level. I always talk about that last 1% from 99 to 100, like Kyle Busch has it, and like Kyle Larson has it, and like Dale Earnhardt had it, and you name it, going back through the years. Jimmy Johnson had it combined with Chad Knaus, and they went to a whole new level. So the Silver Spoon thing with Ty Gibbs is probably going to turn out to be a lot different. It's going to look different when he grows up a little bit, I guess is the best way to put it. And can take the medicine when it's fed to him like it was this past weekend and go, whatever, we know who the best driver is, but he deserved that one because blah, 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 instead of, oh, he's a douchebag, or whatever he said. I don't even remember.
I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever side you stand on, that's what people – that's what makes finishes exciting. That could have ran –
And it's also what makes people talk about the sport, and then the next set of people go, I want to see more about that and tune in. So it's really kind of good either way.
Well, and it shows the difference. There's not a lot of difference because, in driving ability, yes. But like you brought up the Dillons, or you can bring up anybody that's in the ride, like for a long time, and still now people call Chase Elliott a Silver Spoon kid because his dad was one of the most successful Cup drivers ever, and now he's in it. Did Dad help him? Probably. If I was in that situation, would I tell my son, I would want my son to work for it himself. But, if I had connections I could help him get there, I'd absolutely do that. I wouldn't stick him out on the street and say, hey. But at the same time, I don't really think it matters because you can look at Ty Gibbs and Chase Elliott, and they've got the wins, they've got championships, and, they're obviously at different stages in their career, but they call them the same names that they call the Dillon brothers. That they've got championships and wins too, but nowhere near the same caliber. Nowhere near the same caliber drivers, but they have the same thing said about them just because of their upbringing. Doesn't matter how successful you are.
To make it to that level, regardless, you've either got to have a lot of money, you got to have connections, or you got to be the baddest MFer on.
Or all of those things.
Or all of them.
Yeah.
And you've got to have a combination of all of them, regardless, because somebody's got to put the money forward for you to show your talent.
Right.
If you're the brokest person in the world, if you've got somebody that believes in you and pay for it, you could show it. You could be the baddest MFer out there, but if you've got nobody to build you a car, this ain't 1970 anymore. You can't go buy a street stock out of a junkyard and race for a couple $100.
Yeah.
The greatest race car driver ever. Better than Richard Petty, better than Dale Earnhardt, better than Jimmy Johnson.
Here he goes.
Never left a local track because he just didn't have enough money. I mean, that's the plain and simple truth right there. There's been better race car drivers who never got out of Bowman Gray or Caraway or Ace or Berlin or Slinger or Winchester or any of those tracks you can think of because they just didn't have the right connection at the right time who said, well, I got $1 million, let's go do this.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's where our sport differs.
And it's easy
it's
easy for 50% or 80% or 90% drivers to move up because a lot of people can find the contact, but that one driver may not have ever had that contact. He may not have had quite the right people skills or quite the right, somebody came and watched him at the right time and before he aged out. It's just one of those deals.
About the right time thing, I think that's how we saw Josh Berry with Dale Jr. I want to touch on that just because we were talking about you got to be good and have connections. I heard that Josh Berry was on iRacing one time and was in a session with Dale Jr. And then they become friends, and that's how Josh Berry got into a Dale Jr. ride. He didn't have money. Of course, he had some money, but he didn't have money like people do now, late model. And when he got with Junior, his career took off. And I think that's the last that we've seen as a grassroots racing person with not that much money, but has a whole lot of talent, get with somebody and that believed in him.
It is great to see him coming through and getting a shot in a. I mean, obviously Stuart Haas has been down as a whole, but four has been the best. And I guess we'll see next year. Is that Rodney? Was that Kevin? Right. Are they just dumping all of their resources into one basket? Right. What's going on over there?
Well, that's another piece of the puzzle. Even with the best driver, if they're not paired up with somebody they trust, if that's a chemistry thing,
correct.
I think it could be. You could have a level of crew chief who's and a level of crew chief like Chad Canals, but if they're not with the right driver, they're not going to do anything.
Chad didn't do anything without Jimmy.
Right.
So do we know that Chad Canals was a great crew chief?
But who did he have before that? Yeah, no, I don't know that
he was a tire changer.
He wasn't really paired up with anybody long term that we.
Yeah.
He came up through the system and he was all of a sudden right into crew chief, and they just hit it off. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Does Jimmy do it without Chad, or does Chad do it without Jimmy? Well, you'll never know, but it worked, and
They're
that's
both
the
in the
gold
Hall of Fame
standard.
because of it.
Exactly.
So let's move on. Let's touch a little on the Cup Series. So that's
because it was boring.
yeah. That's 2 weeks in a row that there's
Short
been
ass race, short ass
one
comments.
caution, and it was less than 2.5 hours. Both of them, Indy and Watkins
It
Glen.
was the shortest NASCAR race since 1971.
Jesus.
and Indy wasn't
And Indy wasn't much
2.5
longer.
hours.
Yeah, they were both really, really short.
One caution each. Indy's caution came real early. Chase Elliott ran out of gas. How does that happen? in today's
Everybody makes
NASCAR?
mistakes.
You can't
Because
make
somebody
mistakes when you're
thought they were
trying to
gonna
get
do-
into the playoffs. Though.
Yes, you can. Why can't you?
Because you won't make it.
You just talked about Jimmy and Chad. How many mistakes did they make? They made mistakes.
A lot.
They won
They
7
still-
championships.
Doesn't. That's
He's
what I'm
gonna
saying.
miss the playoffs because of that mistake.
Maybe. What if he wins Daytona? You never know.
You
You
never
can't
know.
sit here and say they don't. You know,
So
everybody
let's
makes
throw
mistakes.
that wild card
Even the
completely
best drivers
out.
and best
Let's
crew
just
chiefs.
throw it away. Daytona doesn't exist. The playoffs start today.
Yeah.
That cost them a chance, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
At the
But
place.
did it?
In layman's terms, yes. Now I know Chase skiing or snowboarding, breaking his leg. Sure, that cost him a
There
shot.
you go.
Chase being a dumbass and wrecking Denny, that cost him a shot. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go in, but that mistake is the one that's magnified right now
Right now.
because Alan Gustafson,
Gustafson.
Gustafson, however you say his name, Alan is a hell of a crew chief.
For sure.
He's won a championship. They've won 7 road courses together plus numerous other tracks.
Yeah.
They've won a lot. There's no way you're making it 3 laps after you switch that flip.
At
flip
Bowman
that
Gray, you
switch. Yeah. Well, at Bowman Gray, you're probably making 12 laps.
But again, it was a
Run a
mistake.
whole race.
I'm not saying it's right or it's good. I mean, it's not good, obviously. But
The question is, how didn't they
Shit
pick up on
happens.
it? And all of that set up to do that strategy before it got to the radio to Chase, how did somebody on the pit box, on the ground beside the pit box, in the war room at Hendrick, where they can hear all the communication and even the stuff we'll never hear because it's all digitally encrypted and fed back, how did they not go, that's not right. Whoa, raise my hand, that's not right.
Well, you know, just
Yeah.
off the top of my head, I'm not going to say this is the case, but, you know, what if, you know, maybe nobody noticed. Maybe everybody was so, you know, yeah, it's crazy, but if you think, you know, sometimes it just takes a certain amount of circumstances to make something happen. Maybe
But that's why
everything
they do
and all
things the way they
distraction.
do, is so that doesn't happen.
Sure.
Is there's checks and balances, and I've been in the war room at Hendrick and talked with Cliff Daniels before the season started, and we talked about, he's like, this is the room where we're all in here to make sure that we're doing things right, to make sure that there's so many people in here that if something happens, then we're screwing up. And I don't remember the verbatim, but we had the conversation. This is the room where we make sure that we can win because we've got the resources to look at every little thing, and it shouldn't be an issue. And it didn't work.
And that's a large error that ultimately falls on Alan's shoulders because he's the leader of the 9 team.
That's natural. I mean, it doesn't matter who actually made the mistake.
Yeah.
It comes down to him. And, you know, again, mistakes made, you know, there were plenty of people that came to his defense on social media and said, hey, look, you know, he's a great crew chief. He's always been a great guy. Just made a mistake.
But ultimately, it brought us the caution that we needed because that race was going to go caution-free.
Yeah, but did it really change that much?
No, but it no.
Restack the field?
It
Did
restacked
help,
the field. It
did
made
it help
a little-
AJ or hurt him? He finished
I
fourth.
think he
yeah.
gained a
I think he
position.
pretty much, yeah. may have-
You know, everybody
may have
realized
forward.
that caution was about to come out and all of the leaders pitted.
Oh, yeah.
And it really kind of screwed the cycle up, but kept everybody in line and then just put them right back there
Yeah.
together. So, on road courses, do we need cautions at stage breaks? What do y'all think?
It depends.
Yes.
It depends.
It doesn't depend. It's a yes.
In my opinion, yes. But at the same time, you think about it. Fans begged, oh, we need more excitement. So we got stages now. We got stage cautions. All right, cool. And now for the past couple years, they've been bitching. Well, you know, we don't need all this extra gimmicks and this and that and this and that. So they're like, all right, road courses, we'll get rid of it. And we'll test it out, see about doing it at some future tracks. And people hate it.
I think
It's like, but again, you know, I'm kind of stepping on my own toes because you can never make everybody happy.
No, and I heard that point on the radio today, and I've always said that. Not every race is going to cater to every single fan's needs, desires, and wants. I think the opinion on this one across the board is pretty bland. I mean, I can watch any race and be happy with it. It doesn't matter to me. I thought there was some interesting elements. I thought it was too short. That race, no matter what, needed to be 15 to 20 laps longer because it was only 8 laps longer than the Xfinity race. That to me is silly.
Speaking of that being, so I saw an asinine post on Twitter or X or
there's a
whatever
lot
you
of
call it now. So I actually screenshotted it.
No, this ought to be good.
So it's a photographer in NASCAR made a comment. I'm not going to say his name. But he said that Watkins Glen was a much better race because it was short, right? That's the gist of it. I don't have the actual tweet. Someone said that wasn't a good race, and he said, race done in 2 hours equals good race. Guy replied, apparently any short race equals a good one. And then he said, would you rather watch a shitty race for 4 hours or 2? And dude replied to the photographer, if the shitty race is 2 hours, does it automatically translate into a good race? As long as the race is good, I don't honestly care how long it is. A shitty race is a shitty race. It doesn't matter if it's an hour or 8 hours. I'm not going to want to watch it if it's 30 minutes and it's not good.
You're not going to have 2003, 4, whatever year it was, Darlington on the last lap every race. You're going to have boring races. Just are. It's like as crazy as the stadium is. There's some nights there where everything's tame. All 4 divisions are just calm, and the night finishes at 10:30. Doesn't happen often.
Those are the best nights.
But it still happens.
I agree.
Just goes to show it's not always going to be crazy, stupid, exciting.
And there were still a
Sometimes
lot
it
of
will be.
things in that 2-hour race that were fun to watch.
Right.
You know, who's going to run out of gas? I didn't really see that one.
It's not all about wrecking
you know,
and
seeing
beating
if those guys could run the whole race without spinning. And there were plenty of little incidents to go around. I mean, Daniel Suarez's little move coming into the carousel, and then Harrison Burton got popped coming out of the carousel, and those kind of things happened. That made it interesting. Yeah. But I still think that the stage breaks, the yellow flag on the road course, helps get you back into that racing mentality. It gives everybody a little bit of a break, the fans included, and then boom, back to racing. Now, do they need to figure out a way to make it a 1 or 2 lap caution instead of a 5 lap caution? Absolutely. Yes. Road America being the worst offender, they need to come to caution at the stage break and come immediately to pit road.
Yeah.
Slow them down when they get halfway around the track, have a pace car back there ready to go, and dump them on pit road. Yeah. And when you're 1 to green, that's a 1 lap caution flag.
And there's no reason they couldn't have done that this year.
Oh,
right.
No,
not at all.
Yeah. No reason.
If it's a natural caution, have a marker on the track where the guys get to pick up the field and go straight to pit road, and then deal with whatever cleanup there is. That's the unknown of a natural caution. Yeah. But those stage breaks can be literally 1 lap. I think that's only 1 lap, right? Caution flag comes out at the stage break. Come to pit road, back around to the green flag. That's a 1 lap caution period.
And that's how Trans Am does it. It doesn't matter if the back of the field's caught
and
up.
they
As
need
soon
to
as they're
catch
ready
up.
to go, they'll go.
You could run a slower pace speed for that part of the lap to let everybody catch up. It doesn't have to be a 55 mile an hour, whatever it is, pace speed. It could be a 30 mile an hour pace speed. That's not that much longer.
Yeah, and they already
They
throw
can be
the
done.
double file, the restart cones, over there.
Let everybody race all the
At
way
the
to
carousel.
the halfway point of the track. Race all the way around. Come on, Chase. That microphone's killing me. We'll figure that
No,
out.
blame him.
That's all right.
Don't apologize for his fault.
It's your fault.
But race. Take the green checkered, but don't throw the caution until they're all the way around. Yeah. What's next?
No.
Chase, anything to add to that?
I didn't really watch it.
All right.
I don't blame you.
Well, let's get on to the stuff that everybody came here to see and hear.
We rolling video now?
Yeah, we can roll the video.
Which one?
Bowman Gray season finale. Obviously, we have poked on this one. Chase Robertson, Sportsman Champion of 2023. Supposedly the youngest champion at the track ever. I think that's been confirmed enough. We're going to say it.
Close enough.
Brandon Ward, Modified Champion. Christian Joyce, Street Stock Champion. And AJ Sanders, Mini Stock Champion. But the one we care about is Chase Robertson. It was a pretty chaotic night. A lot of beating and banging, as expected any championship night over there. If you've been over there before, you know it's a shitstorm on that last race in August. A little bit of the... I can't see through Sam's head. It's okay.
This gave you a scare, didn't it?
Yeah, sure did.
So what's going through your mind in this
Well,
moment right here?
Right when he hit me, I didn't know what happened. I asked Dad what it was. He said it was the damn 99.
So entering the night, How many points were you up?
I was 19 above the 55 and 24 above the 07.
So
and
5 spots.
Right, and I drew 18th, and they drew first and 5th.
That sucks.
That's always how it goes.
But luckily, I had a lot of friends, so 4 or 5 cars dropped to the rear, and I moved up to 12th. And I made quick work
That's
into
a
about
situation
4th.
right there.
Boom.
That was a lot better than Austin Dillon's throw earlier
We'll
this
play
year.
detailed highlights of that in a few minutes.
Well, you see right there, I think it was a green-white checker. Dad just told me to lag back. You don't got to do anything. So I lagged back about 4 car lengths and just rode. I rode half of the race. I was where I needed to be.
I mean, that's what you got to do to win.
I didn't need to win the
championships.
race. I just
You don't need to be the hero. Just don't be the zero.
Yeah.
Did you take in post race here coming up in the video highlights? But did you take it all in? What do you remember?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember a lot. It was
A blur.
yeah, exactly. I didn't believe it happened.
That's awesome.
I didn't know what he was telling me to do right there. All right.
I don't know if he knew what he was telling you to do.
He probably didn't even know I won the championship, so he's probably telling me to go to the
Yeah.
pits.
Yeah, probably.
Nah, I
Get
think
out
he
of here.
knew.
Get out of here.
To
I
be
think they
honest,
told him.
I
Some
don't
donuts in the field.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think we got your post race interview coming up. Well, let's
City
stop and
can't
listen
be
to what he
happy about
says.
I don't
What Chase says
remember what I
after.
said.
Let's find out. It's coming up in a sec.
I stalled it.
Probably a couple.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot.
That's got to be the best feeling. In
Oh,
the
it
world.
was.
Just minus the stall.
Yeah,
I can imagine the nerves are running through.
I know.
Of the season finale for the McGow Heating and Sportsman Series. He takes the checkered flag for the gentleman.
I know. I've never done that before.
I was going to
First
say,
time.
is that your first time
Yeah.
doing a burnout?
I
No,
don't know why
that's-
I did. It's so short.
It probably felt like a year.
It felt like I did it forever.
For the 19-year-old Chase Robertson, we'll have a word with him momentarily.
I can't imagine your engine builder's upset that you didn't go that long.
It's got to get refreshed anyway. So
All right, so let me ask you. All these people are under your car.
It
How
means
many
a
of
lot.
them do you think you know?
You know, like I was telling everybody else, my family, my brother, and dad, and parents, everybody makes this happen, and all this goes to them. The championship's for them.
And shotgun on the field. The car number 14
Yeah.
Did y'all put it
is
together?
Corey Levitt.
Well, here you got to draw a lot. You got to have luck on that. You got to have, great partners, great team, a great car. You got to thank Dylan Ward and Kevin Amon. They make me look good.
The car number 89 of Eddie Collins.
I've been working all week, just trying to get my mindset right for this week, and I think it paid off.
Is the Tobacco Ridge Land
So how many people do you think you actually know in that picture?
I was going to ask the
same. 12, 15.
That's awesome.
Nah, I'd say a little more. Maybe.
So in
Personally, I know 12 or 15. Now, fans, I mean, I could probably recognize them, but I don't.
that's fair. So obviously we work with Cale Martin,
Mm.
and I helped him. So that one win he got over there this year, we were talking about it after race. He's like, I don't know, but like 6 people that were in this photo. Jason Meyer's kid was in the picture, and I don't know why.
That's awesome.
Just
I love Max. He's a handful, but he's a really cool kid.
yeah, the amount of fanfare at that racetrack is like no other. I know that there's been some people on Twitter here recently saying it needs to be tore down, and
The fans are like insane. Like, if they like that driver, they might do something if you say anything bad about them. They are serious about.
I think he
People
witnessed
over
it
there.
firsthand after the race. About lost his camera.
I mean, it's unreal how like they take that place.
Very emotional.
It's always been like that for as
Yeah,
long as I can remember. I can only remember so long, but
Well, I think
Yeah,
the
they-
Madhouse show kind of, made it a little crazier. But it's always
it's been crazy for years. Though.
Yeah,
Like
that-
you don't
it's
just get the
changed a
name
little
The
bit.
Madhouse from a TV show.
No, I'm just saying it. That upped it a little
Sure,
bit.
maybe people are a little more bold today or a little dumber, but
Okay.
maybe they're just
Well,
more impassioned.
Yeah, we'll go back to there was a big old there's some big old fights, and I don't think I don't think I've seen any real big fights like that in the stands over there, and it was just passion. And I don't know that it was between.
You must have been on vacation that they walked that big girl out, arrested her.
And it was unfortunate that came down to it. There was some words between some different fans from different teams after the race, and I don't know 100% that that's what that one was about, but some dude got his butt kicked, and it was unfortunate. He had to be taken off in a stretcher, and there's a big old pool of blood left over there. And I was like, God, I feel bad for this kid. I mean, there's no need for that. You can get mad at somebody and have some disagreements, but man, they were going down.
It's a bunch of redneck good old boys over there.
But there's nothing wrong with that. And it's funny because I've spent today and yesterday
That's the law.
and the day before dealing with all the people who come on Twitter or not Twitter really, but TikTok and YouTube and see the videos, because the ones that a gazillion people watch are the ones that are the total shit show type stuff. And while that's all fun for a few minutes, that's not the majority of really what you see over there. There's a lot of good racing. There's a lot of clean passing. There's a lot of bump and runs that are clean.
The further into
nobody
August you
watches
get,
that.
the shittier it gets.
Well, certainly. People really ramped it up this
It's
week.
hotter than hell.
Yeah.
The drivers are fed up with each other. I mean,
Tempers.
what, the season's 17 weeks, one break?
17 weeks, one break.
I mean, it's a lot, because most weekly tracks are every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Or at least switch off to divisions.
I think so.
For the most part.
So let's talk about the madness that is the Madhouse. The last couple of weeks, and really all season, Amber Lynn and Tommy Neal have been at each other's throat. This week was the second week in a row. I'm going to play this video.
Even wrecking in front of us, big. He's going to try to steal the damn thing and try to get you with the damn mule. He's surrounded.
It's a quick version, and then it's a recap that's sort of longer. But
Where did she even come from?
so she was outside of him there. I don't know where that lady came
Still
from.
there.
Oh, yeah, the lady.
Tommy's pinched her out. I don't know.
Still there. Even wrecking in front of us, big.
Caution's out, back it down, back it down. Caution's out, back it down.
Have y'all seen some of the photos of Tommy's car? Just chilling on the Jersey barrier?
Oh, that car's skilled.
Yeah.
He's got to buy a new one. It looked like the sway bar tube was snapped.
Jesus.
And then obviously he was mad, and
Yeah.
I think any driver in that situation would probably get out and be really mad. But I think Tommy's let it get the best of him the last few weeks, hasn't he?
For sure, but
Yeah.
I mean,
He's took so much on Facebook, like so much. People have talked so much bad about him the last 2 weeks on Facebook. It's unreal. Like I don't know what I'd do if I was him. I'd probably delete Facebook.
That goes back
they've
to that-
threatened him. Like it's
Terrible
crazy.
things. It's
Passionate
bad.
fans, but
There should be a line, but
As a-
people know where the line
let's
is.
be fair. You guys that race and run well are celebrities in this area. You know, obviously this is probably going to be our best podcast just because you're here.
Yep.
Nobody gives a shit about me, him, and PJ.
About to say just because.
God, especially
PJ's
PJ.
not here.
Yeah.
Honestly, we got better views when PJ was here. I'm just kidding. But,
Get all you want to.
His aim's pretty good at this water ball, though.
No,
Yeah,
that was
right off the side of the
sweet.
car.
He reached his back pocket for that one.
not as good as the aim as whoever you said hit you
Oh
in
yeah,
the car.
it scared the hell out of me. I was going through the backstretch and I get pelted right on the shoulder with a water bottle.
That's insane.
But like you were saying, the fans are just passionate and
Very.
being a mini celebrity basically. And this, you know, from this being on Flow Racing, all kinds of media coverage thanks to jackasses like Chris. It's just what you've got to learn to deal with it if you're gonna race and be anything. I mean, to get the sponsorships, you've got to be marketable.
I don't think y'all y'all might, but it's so hard to get sponsors outside of Bowman Gray. Like I've raced the 602 tour when I was 14 and 15 in 2019, and it was literally just my dad's company. We couldn't get anybody else, but once we started at Bowman Gray, I mean, it took a while, but like it was a lot easier to get sponsors.
I mean, that's like I got my wife's. She works at a grooming salon. I got her boss to sponsor Kale, you know, because she knows Bowman Gray. She didn't know anything about racing, but just Bowman Gray immediately attracts money
15,000
because there's
people.
15,000 people there.
You
Plus,
know
you've
someone's
got
gonna see it.
hundreds of thousands of views potential
I
on,
agree.
on YouTube.
Yep.
There's media coverage there, whether it be Fox 8 or another local media corporation. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of eyeballs on those cars, and when you run well, you turn into a mini celebrity, and you've got to figure out how to deal with Bowman Gray fans because they're just a different breed, and you
Really?
can't go putting hammers through people's windshields or
Yeah.
whatever.
That's a whole nother topic there. That's
So,
crazy.
I
That's,
don't
that's
know-
next level.
I don't
Yeah,
know
for
what
sure.
happened, and I don't want to accuse anybody
I
of
don't
it,
either.
Staying out
but
of it.
I cannot believe that happened, and I can at the same time.
Right.
Uh,
Like I was gonna say, it's crazy. Like back to the fans. Like I have a picture of Chase's first win, and there were fans out there. You could have probably fit them all in this garage or wherever. Like it was with standing rooms, you could have put your hands out.
Yeah.
But I told Chase the other week he won the 100-lapper, and I went out on the track. I could hear the fans and the little kids beating on his car from the beer garden before I got to the beer
Not
garden.
the kids, but it's just the people hitting the car. But they do it to every driver.
If you're a grown-ass man or woman, please do not beat on this guy's car when he wins, because he's probably going to win a lot,
Just look
and
at
that
it
shit
and
costs
smile.
money.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is like if you were to cut all the sound off in the stadium, you could probably hear the beating on the cars at the college.
Yeah.
Like
I'm sure.
it is unreal.
When Tucker got down there, he said, "I ain't gonna lie. The only thing I heard was people beating the hell out of your car."
And then when the announcer gets there with the microphone, it just mics it up even more.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
It's
what are
awesome.
we doing?
Oh, yeah, it sounds like an earthquake or a rock concert.
So many people.
You're
there.
probably going to have to put a greenhouse on that thing.
Sometimes,
Like, holy
dude.
shit, stop!
Yeah.
I
Jesus.
told him to put a sticker on there that says "Don't beat on the car."
They ain't going to read it.
No,
They're too
keep
excited.
beating.
Yeah.
They couldn't even tell you who won. They just want to
Right.
be down there sometimes.
Well, like Saturday night, I saw when Bert got out of his modified when he won. There was a kid beating on his tire, and he done like telling him to stop. He was the only one kid who was doing it, but it's not only me that don't like it.
I can't imagine that anybody that works on these things like it's like
No, definitely.
okay, how many people at your shop building these cars day in and day out?
2, well 3 counting my dad.
So
Tucker, Braden Mills, me, and my dad every night.
4 people building.
Correct.
I know Braden runs
Yes.
the 54.
Mhm.
Y'all have got the 31, and then y'all have had the 13 there as well.
Yeah, that's just for like, if I needed a backup car or
It's got to start race number
it's
1
got to
to be
start
eligible
race
for
number
race
1, and we just let crew members start and park it because it's not a full race, but it shows that we care for them. And you just see the smiles on their face when they strap in, put the helmet on. It's unreal.
Yeah, Kale let me practice his car.
How'd you like that?
I almost wrecked it.
Yeah, PJ told me about knock down the wall.
Got into 3 a little hot, then went straight. And I'm just Kale's on the radio. Back quarter up, back quarter up. It's a little late for that. So
I will next time.
I got the hang of it. It was a great experience once I figured out that I needed to brake halfway down the straightaway and not entering the corner. But
I've had a lot of people say they're going slow, but they think they're hauling the mail. Like, how did it feel like your first time?
so I thought I was going. It felt fast, like in the center of the corner. The G-forces, I wasn't expecting it to be as much as it is. And then when you get on it, and the street stock, and Kale's car's really well handling, you could get on it and go to where I thought I could drive a lot deeper into the corner than I could. And that's why I almost tore the wall down. Because I guess I'm going a lot faster than I thought I was.
Right.
I don't really know.
I get that.
I don't really remember much of it. I just remember looking out the windshield and seeing the red. And I'm like, uh-oh.
It's
is
funny
not
you
good.
say that Braden, when the first weekend he raced, I'm sorry to call you out, Braden, but it's a very memorable moment. First weekend he's out there, first practice, he gets in the car, and I don't even know if I was watching. Maybe I was.
I think it was like when Jimmy done this with the flag, he goes into the corner, and he just, I guess he sent her in there and locked it up and hit the wall.
Locked it
first
up,
time.
drove it straight in the wall. First time out.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
So you could have done that.
It was.
I could have. And Kale almost made me do it. So Kale, because he let me and another buddy his drive after he drove first practice. His other buddy drove second, and then I drove third practice. And Kale's talking to me. We're walking out to watch his other buddies. He goes, all right, we'll see if Ransom wrecks it. If he don't wreck it, you got a shot to wreck it. I'm like, Jesus, Kale, stop.
Yeah, shut up.
So he comes in. Ransom ran pretty well. He was running like 15 threes. Kale, I think his normal lap's like 15-0 in that thing when it's hot and slick out there. But so I come in, or he comes in. Kale's going, all right, Davey, you gonna run? Yeah, I'll go out there. Don't wreck it. It's pretty good. I got a chance to win tonight. Don't wreck it. I'm like, fuck.
All the pressure.
All right, I'm just gonna go out there. I'm gonna go slow. I got a little comfortable. I'm like, I can go pretty far. Went a little too far. Twice. About hit the wall.
Yeah, you were passing a slower car, though. We'll give you a little bit of credit.
You get out there on the top trying to pass slow car on the bottom.
Yeah, that was the first problem. Is the slow car's coming around the bottom, so I go a little deeper than I think I need to.
Yeah, it's
To
different.
go, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I did it one day. I got on the top groove trying to pass a slow car, and the car wasn't handling well at all. I mean, I'm no driver by any means, but it wasn't handling too good. I get out there on the top, and I'm looking straight at Jimmy Brown, and I start praying for him immediately.
And then I got passed on the inside in practice. I'm like, oh, this is not good.
I didn't even get that.
This is not good.
what?
It was Christian Joyce. He comes by me because I hear Kale Spotter just
You're on
yelling.
the top, and he dives down.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like the 37 and 19 that one
You
race.
don't need to give a star on that.
Like, I'm just trying to keep it out of the wall, and I hear, inside you, inside. I'm like, what?
Oh, shit.
I watch him go by, look. He's like, you're clear, you're clear. I'm fast as I can to the left. I'm like, all right, let's just ride for about 5 laps. About pissed my pants. Jesus.
Good times.
That's good. So that car handled pretty good. He should have won that race. They could have maybe won that race that night.
Nah.
He got about 7 reasons he didn't finish, though.
7.
David burned up tires on it.
That's it.
I wasn't the issue that night.
Anyways, moving on.
Kale got me about 7 fights this year, but anyways.
Once again, that 7 number comes around.
I guess
weird.
it's lucky.
I guess.
Depends on who you are.
It's pretty light.
Jesus. So, chaotic night at Bowman Gray. Davey about wrecked the car. This is the second week we've talked about that in a row. Let's move on. Anybody else got any more?
You want to see some more highlights from Bowman Gray?
Yeah, if we
What
got
about-
to. We got.
We're going to go to the modifieds?
I got the modified
Yeah, I forgot
low
that
lights.
We got that.
I actually want to know what happened to Chris Fleming. I didn't even Yeah, I'd say. What happened?
How about that 10 car?
Oh,
The
hey.
10 car was in every dang wreck.
10 car was under somebody, out of the ballpark, over somebody, and then blew his radiator.
Hey, it didn't stop him though.
I'm sure the radio.
I thought we were going to have Air Doug 2.0. It's going to
He's
be
in
Air,
that one. There's the 10.
it's gonna be Air Dan instead.
That's when
You
the
know,
10 hit.
why was Savali mad at him?
Because he bumped him and caused him to do that spin. He sort of side-slapped him a little bit. I don't know why he was mad. It wasn't like
I don't think it
intentional,
was,
but
yeah, I mean,
they just tire slapped off the corner. But I mean, I think you got to have a little more respect for the championship contenders in
you
these
know,
races.
I like Junior Snow. I know we ain't
And I'm
there
not sure
yet.
why Dan was mad at him there, so he comes up there and ruins his night after 4 wrecks.
I about to tell you why. Dan, or it's either Dan or Mike, is married to Tim's sister or sister-in-law, something of
They're
that
related
nature.
somewhere by marriage.
And then he goes up there and runs down the track and gives, a lot of gestures to everyone.
That's where we're going to air Dan right here. We need feet first to the air clean. That'd be perfect.
Hot.
There's the guy in the orange shirt coming running. Is that one of Tim's guys?
Oh, that's their guys.
Well, I guess he has got to be one of the Hillbilly guys.
How are you
people-
gonna
how
let
you
so
allowed
many
to do
people on
that?
the track?
Because they got to work up to it. They're going to kick them off.
And then Tim got Junior there.
I mean, Tim needed that position, though.
Yeah, he did. But he didn't know this was about to happen.
So I heard from a fairly reliable source that Tim had told Junior, like the week before, that you gotta stop letting people run over you. And it just happens that he was on the.
I heard it straight from Junior Snow. Oh, in an interview.
Well, I heard it from.
We're back to the beginning now.
So, but Tim had told you gotta stop letting people run over you. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, Tim was the one that ran over him.
Exactly what he said. I want to give him props to the gap he shot between the 3 and the 4
And it was
to hit the
precision.
83. That was
But
pretty
It was
impressive.
a
Here's the
hell
other
of a
thing.
shot, too. Knocked the rear
Right-
axle out of it.
Right before, like less than 30 seconds before that shot, Tim Brown was on the radio, and it's in the video that I've got there. Tim said, "Somebody get to Jason's crew, the 4 car, Jason Myers. Somebody get to his crew $1,000 to let me buy, and that would have given him the championship."
I did hear that, yeah.
And then
what do we think about that
So,
kind of thing, though? That's just
Me and Tucker, I raced with Brant, which is Jason's spot.
right.
And he told us last night that Jason said, "Venmo me 10,000 right now, and I will." I guess he was just joking, but that's what Brant said.
Yeah,
Jason
that's-
said.
I don't know, man. 10,000, that's a lot. It
That-
was
that's
probably
a-
started
that's
off as a
pretty-
joke. And he's
You
like,
see
probably more
Tim
than
in the car like,
championship,
gotta get it sit. Jason gets a ding. Oh, all right, pulling over. There you go.
Jesus.
Then it went to Ben to get me a wrecker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Junior Snow's like holding my beer. So here's the biggest question, and I don't have the camera ready to pop up. But Chase, talk about your season. I mean, you had the most wins more wins in this season than you've ever had before. Won on some pretty significant nights, prom night, high school graduation weekend. How did you see it all come together when the season started, and how did you maintain? How did you make it all work?
Well, like I said in my interview, it takes a good team, great people, and partners. And luckily, I was partnered with Dylan Ward. That car was so fun to drive all year. It was always just it was a good car week in and week out. He worked with me a lot. We partnered last year, and we had a good season. Finished 4th with 3 wins. But coming into this season, we got 4 weeks at the beginning of the season to practice and test before the first race, and we were by far the best car every week before that. And going into the first race on prom night, we always made jokes about it. Well, it would be really cool if I won and went to prom. I didn't really see it happening. We qualified on the pole Friday. We had a full field redraw. We drew 10th, and on lap 4 somehow got into second behind Zach. And we raced it out. Luckily, I got the win that night and went to prom. That was a really special night. Shout out to my girlfriend though, because she had to miss all of her going to eat like you usually do, going with friends. It was just me and her that showed up later that night. As a girl, that's supposed to be your night at the prom. So props to her. She's been with me all this season. Missed stuff. She's come after softball games and everything. So that was a really good night for me and her. And then graduation night, it just worked out, really. I mean, graduated Friday and then had some good luck on Saturday and luckily won that race.
Sounds like the big nights are when you shine the brightest.
I don't know why. I guess,
Some people
good
just have
or
a knack
above.
for that.
Yeah.
Some people just
very
have
well
a
under
knack for
pressure.
that. So, obviously, we've got youngest champ. You got all those big wins on those big nights in your life. Not just big nights because you won, but just big nights in general.
Right.
Obviously, you remember your prom, your graduation.
Wow, yeah. Little
You
bit.
remember that for a while, forever, honestly.
Yeah.
But going back to the beginning, how did you get into racing?
My grandfather started this whole racing. He raced modifieds for 30 years. I believe he raced at Daytona one time in a modified. I don't know how that happened, but there's a picture of it that my dad has. So he started racing modifieds for 30 years, and he never won a race. That takes a lot. of character to just keep going to the track every weekend for 30 years. That's what I never won my first race. Racing at Bowman Gray for 2 years, and that took a toll on me because my brother. I had a lot to big shoes to fill with my dad and my brother. Being some successful there, and then my dad and my uncle started racing. I think they started racing at Bowman Gray. I don't know what year. My dad was fortunate to win over 20 races there. And then my brother started racing, and that's really where our kind of like racing took off. Luckily Dad had got some money coming in, and they went late model racing. And at the time, Brian was racing with guys like Philip Morris, Lee Pulliam, big paid sellers, people like that. And he was racing at Ace, Barry Begley. That was a dude back then. And Ryan won some races at Ace, Caraway. He raced on the UARA Stars Tour. Those were a lot of big names then. You had the Bassett's. They were really good back then. I can't really remember. I was a little young, but like as a kid, I remember going to them races and just watching. So I remember a little bit of them guys. And then he went to Martinsville 4 times. He made the race. He didn't make the race 3 times, but the last year he qualified 4th. That's crazy to me. That is impressive. And unfortunately, before the lap 50, alternator went out, running 4th. But there, when that happened, I don't know whose guy it was, but like in this, when they were doing tech after qualifying, Dad said that some guy asked, "Who the hell are y'all?" Dad said, "We're from Bowman Gray." I thought that was pretty funny. But then, do y'all know what the Denny Hanneman Showdown is? Oh, yeah. Like back then, Ryan qualified 9th or 8th there. At Richmond, that race, and he got in a wreck there too. So he just never had no luck in the races, but he could lay down a lap.
I heard that's a wicked place to drive in a late model.
I'm sure.
I bet it is. I bet it is. There's a video out there on it. But there was some cool stats about my brother. He really took off the racing, just bigger and better than Bowman Gray.
Right. Elevated it from just a family thing for fun to we can be somewhat serious and run well.
Yeah, I mean he
on a bigger stage.
Dad met a lot of people. Fortunately, him and Mike Herman Jr. became best friends. That helped a ton with him and Ryan, and then Dad got together with Greg Marlowe. Greg at the time was the guy, building race cars, Marlowe chassis, and he set up Ryan's car for years, and that's him and Ryan worked great together. That's for about 3 to 4 years, Ryan and Greg and Dad were all together. And then later down the road, Ryan went back to Bowman Gray, and they partnered with Bubba Gale, and he was really, really, really smart. I think there was a story. Ryan and Bubba were the first people to run bump stops over there in 2014.
I think I heard the same thing.
And people looked at Dad and was like, "Why is your car not off the ground on the straightaways?" And that's where the bump stops came from over there, is from Bubba Gale.
Yeah. That's a lot of the Robertson history right there.
Yeah,
a lot of
for sure
stuff I didn't know. Obviously, I don't know much about him, but and we know Mike not well, but enough. We've seen him race for a while.
Oh yeah.
Whether it be good or bad.
Yeah.
The Bowman Gray
all y'all
stuff.
seen that video.
Are you talking about the one he took?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Was he? Which one was he? The one being dragged, or the one? Yeah, yeah. He did the big roll. That was the first big. Because didn't it was by Stoltz?
Yeah,
Yeah, Derek, and Derek ended up on that one. like reality
that
shows
TV?
sitting on there
Rob
talking about the
Dyrdek's.
video. Yeah,
Wasn't it Ridiculousness?
No, God.
something like that.
No, they were on
Yeah, that's
Ridiculous,
what I'm saying.
but
They
it
were.
was just a clip of it. They weren't like there.
I've seen
There was
some-
one that Derek
Yeah,
was
that's
on the set
I don't-
talking through it, and I
Oh,
can't remember which one it
I didn't
was.
know that,
I
but
forget
I
his
He was
know-
name.
on that Fast and Loud or whatever. That
That's
Richard
what it was,
Rawlings. He was on
yeah.
a bunch of them with the clip, and then I know he was on. I think he was with Richard Rawlings.
Yeah, that was one of the first craziest clips I got, and I was like, "Holy
What's it
mackerel."
feel like your family
crazy.
has part in making a national NASCAR rule that drivers have to stay in their cars until officials are there?
I didn't even know that. I thought that was. I didn't know they made that rule because
Yeah.
of that. Oh,
It was between that and
Influence, yeah.
the other deal.
Was
with
that
the
Tony-
former
The
driver.
Tony Stewart
Yeah.
deal.
Those the two were like the leading
Right around the same time.
things.
Yeah.
Like, hey, drivers, if you ain't on fire and imminent danger, stay into your car
Yeah.
until someone gets there.
And then they've went lax on that rule the past couple of years, I think.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
it's there in case somebody ever does something crazy. They can say, "Well,
We told you not to be an idiot.
But yeah, I mean, you know, we've all been going to the stadium for a very long time. And, you know, I don't ever remember from the youngest I've been that there wasn't, you know, one of your family members there running. So that's awesome to keep that family history going and have that success for that long and just keep it going. Like,
for sure.
What's your future plans? What's coming up for you?
Well, right now we're just gonna finish out the season, or this year at Martinsville. Touched on that earlier with Dylan Ward, and then we're gonna regroup and see what we think about going back to back next year. You know, points racing is a lot. It's a lot on your mental, and Dad's getting older, so right now it's gonna have to be me and the guys working on the car. He's struggling. You know, getting down and up, works a full-time job, you know, going to sleep at 10, 11. So we don't know what we're going to do. We might run select races over there. We just got all, you know, it's all on Dad, really.
But when Chase Robertson grows up, what does he want to be?
Well, I've always wanted to be a race car driver, but, you know, you grow up and you see what it's really like. It's just a lot of money, connections, so, just get a job and keep racing local, I guess.
So what do you want to do for that job?
Well, I've applied at ECR and RCR. You know, luckily my dad knows Jimmy Wallace up there, so I have a pretty good feeling that when the contracts are all finalized and Jimmy knows what he got or is going to get, you know, hopefully I can get a job up there.
awesome. Well, I would, not to, you know, toot our own horn or anything, but, you know, turn your resume in everywhere.
See,
Every
I
building
went,
in that complex.
I went to colleague twice and the door was shut. They said there was no. Tucker said there wasn't a front lady working the desk. That's why.
There isn't always, but we'll get you in there.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay. All right.
So how long have you been racing? Like just racing in general?
I started out Bandoleros when I was 8. Raced 5 races. Dad didn't know how to work on them, so then I started testing full body stock car at the age of 12, and didn't get my first start until I was 14 on the 602 Tour Days. I sucked, and then the following year in 2019, we had a fabulous year. I don't know what changed. We won 3 out of 8 races there. Lost the championship on the last night at Hickory. But that's when I started racing.
He makes me feel old. He says he's like 12 years old in 2018. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I was in the Cup Series in 2018.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
So Tucker, let's switch this to you a little bit. How did you get involved in racing?
Well, really, to start it off, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, still shitting green, my grandpa was a drag racer.
It's different.
Yeah, real different. It's weird how it happened. He did sand drags, he did asphalt drags, whatever. You name it, he was a drag racer. My dad messed around in that a little bit. That passed way on. Then my dad's dad, he actually ran over at Bowman Gray a couple years. He ran a modified over there way back when, like Flathead series, way back when. then when he's gone, my dad, he helped Don Smith for a while. You know, Don Smith. Then after Don Smith, he actually helped Brian Lofton for a really long time. And then pass on that, then it was just, we just went and watched. We were just the locals that watched the races. And then fast forward, 2018, 2019? 2019.
2019, because I was a freshman.
Yeah, you were still running 602. Yeah. And me and my buddy Braden Mills in the 54. Braden started it out pretty much. Braden went over. Really, it started with a Snapchat from Chase. Chase was like, anybody on here want to help out at the shop, hit me up, come over, we'll see how it does. All right. So I hit him up, Braden hit him up. Braden started it out. I came like a week later because I was playing sports.
Right.
And ever since then, it's just been, we've been knocking it out.
Right.
So that rolled into my next question is how you got hooked up with the Robertsons. Just the power of social media. You know,
Pretty much, like really.
cool. Like I
knew him because I was a freshman on the football team and he was a senior.
Okay.
And that's how I kind of knew him. And Braden, I saw him at Chopsticks once. So I seen him at school, and then he asked me if I raced at Bowman Gray, and I said yes. And then, you know, I posted that on my Snapchat story asking who would like to help us because it was just me and my dad. And at the time, I played sports too, so I really didn't have all the time I needed to work on the car, and it was just Dad. And I really felt bad because, you know, he was 50-something working on the car by himself, and I just didn't think that was right. So I didn't know if I wanted to drop sports or keep racing. So luckily, I had some guys that would, you know, come over with me after sports and help on the car.
But, I mean, I feel like that's how a lot of us get into
Yeah.
racing. I know that's how I got into it, was just finding people on Facebook to help. You know,
Right,
hey, does
yes.
anybody out there need? I know there's pages on Facebook dedicated to that, racing jobs. Just
Right.
hey, I'm a kid out of college and I'm looking to help. He actually got my first job in motorsports for me because I grew up. My dad's a cameraman. You know, I've got 5 siblings. We didn't have the money to race. You know, I'm named after 2 of the greatest, Davey Allison and Alan Kowicki, but
Right.
we didn't have the money to race. Yeah. And I just didn't know anybody in it other than him. But he got me the opportunity with Rick Ware, and that's how I got into the sport. Was from nothing straight into the Cup Series.
Yeah. Right.
And it's a large leap when you
It is huge.
just start working on anybody's cars.
Yeah.
Right.
So getting thrown into the fire is probably the only way
That's right.
to
and
figure out.
That's kind of how, like, I went into, like one of y'all said a while ago, talking about applying for jobs. I wanted to do racing so bad. Like, I ended up quitting my job, grading. I was like, I'm going racing, whatever it takes.
That's fair.
And I applied at so many places. I was willing to drive an hour for work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like you said, who you know, like, I knew a guy, he got me in, and I kind of just jumped straight in.
Yeah, you figure it out.
And that's what had to happen. They threw me on the service plate, and it was just
There you go.
been
And
on
that's-
since then.
So, like, my first, because I was living in Summerfield at the time and drove all the way to Rick's in Thomasville, and they didn't have any interstates built then. You know, the bypass up there, and it was an hour drive. And it's not, you know, he was paying me $300 a week.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if it's bad enough, you were in the same position, you worked there. It's like, I want to do it. And fortunately, it's led to, you know, where we're in a good position to win races and make decent money and work for good companies. And obviously, you're in great position to. You've been around it your whole life. You've family. You're a racer, and I don't see any reason you wouldn't be able to jump into
not at all.
NASCAR and thrive.
Not at all.
So I know you did some starting parks.
Yeah.
I saw your name on the points list.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself racing at the old Glory Hole?
It's crossed my mind. It has. But the only way it would be for Mike, Chase's dad. He gives us so many opportunities to do anything we want really in racing.
It's awesome.
It has crossed my mind maybe next year, maybe not. Just for the simple fact that I might could run for Rookie of the Year.
There you go.
Come on.
You talking about Mike? I mean, he talked to my dad several times about getting me in the 13 car for practice, which we now know is not a good idea. But
It's a great idea.
Mike doesn't even really know me, and to offer that olive branch of, hey, come have a good time, it's like,
And
must be a hell of a guy.
He really is. He's do anything for you. He really is. He's like another dad to me, really. Like, and that's like you said, do anything for you. Don't even really know you. He took me and Braden. Didn't know us from Adam's butthole, and he just.
First time I've heard that one.
Yeah.
I would have said something else, but.
No, it's all right.
But he took us in, and he trusted us to work on Chase's car. We put Chase on the track every weekend.
Yeah.
And he doesn't think twice about letting us do anything on the car.
Obviously doing a hell of a job, I'd say.
One thing I didn't bring up, I was going to say he's still standing here, but you raced with a broken thumb this year?
No kidding.
So, what was that like, racing with that kind of injury?
Luckily the cast doctor, I guess you could say, let me mold my cast in my steering wheel.
Okay.
So that helped a little bit. I still couldn't. I had to use I couldn't use my thumb. I had 4 fingers. So I mean, it really didn't hurt me that much. I still want to race with it.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's badass.
That's kind of how I learned how to drive one-handed, really. Because during practice, I was like, let's try it.
Yeah.
I still definitely don't got it down. It's a hard thing to do, but I got the base of it. Dylan Ward drives with one hand, so I mean, I kind of asked him a little bit of questions on how to do it. He obviously didn't really help. He said it's just natural.
Yeah.
It's just natural talent. So I still learn. But I raced. It was four races, 4 weeks with a cast on my hand. Doctors actually shortened it a little bit, so it's kind of like a little.
Yeah.
I could move it like that. I couldn't move it all the way back, but I still had some play in it. So, luckily my thumb didn't hurt during the race. It hurt a lot after though. I guess because of adrenaline during the race, I didn't really feel it.
First race was 100 lap, wasn't it?
Yeah, first race on it was 100 lap, finished second.
There you go.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
my thumb hurts just thinking about it. My thumb just hurts just thinking about it. Did you have anything else? I know I cut you off there.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we've got pretty much all the questions I want to ask. The last thing I want to do is a little game with Chase. So we all know that public relations is a big part of racing.
Oh yeah.
So you posted the other day a list of your sponsors.
Mm.
I want to see if you can name them
I
off
got this.
from your head.
Oh, I got
Go.
this.
Name them all from the post? Or
From
just
the post.
All on the car?
Let's go off the post.
Oh, God.
It doesn't have to be in order.
Yeah, it doesn't.
All right. So Jerry Hunt Supercenter, My Fry, East Coast Wings, David Kinley Services, Mike Herman Racing, Dylan Ward Racing, Timothy D. Wellborn. Was this yes, or was this past
Yeah.
post?
Yeah.
Elite Performance Industries. Is that on there?
Yeah.
How many am I missing? How many I got right now?
I got 8.
Started off strong. Come on, you finish up.
How many are left?
Yeah, how many are left? Maybe I could.
Baby Jesus Christ.
You got 19 on here.
Whew.
That one of them's Sunoco fuel. I don't.
Yeah.
Swift Springs.
Swift Springs. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Gale Force.
Yep, that one's on there.
I already said that, didn't I?
No.
Damn, that's one main sponsor too.
Easy.
Davidson, yeah, that's a rough one. Davidson Steel. I might be done. That's
See, we just threw you on the spot.
Yeah.
I think this is an awesome problem to have, but it says a lot about Bowman Gray and these people, these companies
Hey,
that
move your hand.
these
I said
companies,
DWR. Yeah,
these
Dylan
companies
Ward.
that want to be involved at Bowman Gray, and that's what I think people that are watching these videos and think, oh, what a crap show. are thinking, why are these people tearing up their equipment to do this? Well, not everybody tears their equipment up. How many times did y'all have to rebuild the car this year from a bad incident?
I'm gonna say
Like,
3 at the most.
yeah, mostly just the bumper bars.
So you can stay out of trouble. You can treat other people with respect. A lot of that would be boring if we did it too many weeks. So somebody's got to be the bad guy out there. But it does say a lot. I mean, because I bet there's some companies making some money back off of those fans. Because
Did you ever piss anybody off this year?
People. Oh yeah. That's a
You
good
were
one.
like the most nonchalant. I never really saw you getting into fights like Kale. Fucking kid.
I don't think so. Not that I know of. I know I got into it with Zach Orr about 3 weeks ago, but that was kind of both. We admitted it was both of our faults, so it was really
racing
hard.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You'll
fair.
have
Yeah. Easy deal.
I don't think I got into it with anybody this year, and that helped me a lot.
I was playing on the last ride.
We ain't gonna touch on that.
Well, we won't touch on that if you want to. Well, I appreciate y'all coming on.
For sure.
This has been a good podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Probably the most fun I've had. I hate that PJ couldn't be here.
You
But
say that a lot of episodes.
I do say it because I have more fun every time.
Yeah. And I mean, and I wanted to save this for closing. Appreciate both of you guys being on. We're not, you're not going to have hundreds of thousands of people listening to you or watching, but you do have thousands of fans in the stands, and that's big. It is very impressive. Congrats again to both of you guys, because driver drives the car, but you're all like you said earlier. You're all in the shop.
Yeah, these
And
guys make it happen though.
Yeah,
Races won are in the shop.
And that's why we're called back at the shop.
And respect to you for making sure everybody knows that it's your guys that help.
Sure.
You get in the car and you're a hell of a wheelman, and congrats. It is very impressive to be able to go over there, like we were just touching on, and say, be able to go over there, not piss anybody off, win races, and win the championship, and that's that is something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah. Congratulations, honestly, both of you guys. Y'all did it as a team.
Right.
It's more than just a driver.
For sure.
You want to finish us off by reading off and thanking your sponsors?
Yeah. Dylan Ward Shocks, DeWalt Performance, we already touched on Swift Springs, Ready Mart, Eric Messer Photography, and Kermit's Hot Dogs. Talking in circles is Chris Carter.
Like Wahlberg Grill and Pizzeria.
Yeah, Wahlberg Grill and Pizzeria.
We thank y'all. As race fans,
Yeah,
it
everybody.
takes sponsorship for us to get an entertainment on Saturday night. So if you're watching this, obviously thank you for sponsoring Chase. I know he really, really appreciates it in his championship run. We as fans appreciate it. We need it to keep racing going because it is an expensive sport. So the more you help out, the more we get to have fun.
Sure.
If everybody's done, anybody got anything, we are back at the shop.
Thank all my guys, everybody back at the shop.